On August 24, 2024, First Amendment auditors and real-life couple Acura Amanda and Palm Beach Free Press were shopping at the Home Depot in Palm Beach Lakes in West Palm Beach, Florida, when an employee called the police after an item that they purchased rang up for only a penny. Officer Anthony Goendu of the West Palm Beach Police Department responded to the call.
It's not a penny. No, it's not a penny. It's not a penny.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey.
What's going on?
So we bought something and she's saying that it didn't ring up right, but we paid for it.
Let's figure this out, okay?
Okay.
May I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I have my card, please?
Absolutely, man. So, ma'am, you want to come explain this?
Okay, so they do for the register themselves, and then like it's a penny. So I told them that we have to change the price on it, and they wanted to walk out.
We didn't steal anything.
Paid for it.
And the, yeah.
Her name is Chanel. We have badge number 1986. What's your name, sir?
Go and do.
Are we being detained right now? Because we didn't steal anything. We paid for it.
Can we talk to the manager really quick?
I have a receipt. I'm not gonna sit here and wait when I
If we're being detained, that's a different story, but we're free to leave at this point.
I mean, you guys aren't. It's just.
Thank you. Have a nice
We
day.
paid for an item.
You
We
know,
got a
but
receipt for it, man.
Yeah.
Well, actually, hang on, guys. If there's
Are we free or are we being detained?
Because we didn't steal anything. If they ring...
Are we free to leave or are we being
If
detained?
they're making I'm trying to explain to you, man.
Free to leave or being detained?
You guys are being detained.
Okay.
Okay.
Why are we being detained, sir?
So basically, there's an allegation of theft being made.
No, there is not. She said we paid for something for a penny. She just told you there was nothing being stolen.
Look, we paid for it.
There's
I mean, it's not our fault if they don't have it the right price.
Guys,
they have
and
it
I
on
get
the,
that. I'm with you
yeah,
guys on
they have
this,
it
okay?
on the sales floor.
So there's an allegation of theft even though we have a receipt
So
in
I'm
our
just
hand?
investigating it.
Sure.
And that's why you guys are not being handcuffed or anything. I'm sure there's an explanation to all of this. Let's talk it out, and then
Okay.
you guys will be good to go.
I mean,
Is
we
that
have.
fair?
I mean, if we're being detained right now,
We have a problem.
yeah, we have a problem. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, there's just an allegation of
She didn't
even
say
if
we
it's
stole
not,
it.
But
yeah.
if it's not ringing up correctly and they're saying you didn't pay the right amount for it, then I just have to investigate it.
Right.
Okay?
That's a civil matter.
So
Yeah.
just give us a few minutes, okay?
That's fine.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
really.
I mean-
I'm working the overtime detail here. I'm just trying to make sure.
Of course, but
You
we
know what
didn't
I mean?
steal anything. It's on the receipt.
I don't doubt that,
Yeah.
and we'll figure this out, okay?
The store employee explains that the price for the item improperly rang up for 1 cent, and that Acura Amanda and Palm Beach Free Press wanted to leave without the price being corrected. And Officer Goendu detains the auditors to investigate the quote-unquote allegation of theft. Under Section 812.014 of the Florida statutes, quote, a person commits theft if he or she knowingly obtains or uses or endeavors to obtain or to use the property of another with intent to either temporarily or permanently deprive the other person of a right to the property or a benefit from the property. Further, Section 812.015 of the Florida statutes specifically defines the offense of retail theft as, quote, the taking possession of or carrying away of merchandise, property, money, or negotiable documents, altering or removing a label, universal product code, or price tag, transferring merchandise from one container to another, or removing a shopping cart with intent to deprive the merchant of possession, use, benefit, or full retail value. This statute would clearly apply to schemes to alter merchandise pricing, such as switching price tags on an item, and could also potentially cover the intentional exploitation of a known pricing error to pay far less than an item's actual sale price. Now, in this situation, Acura Amanda and Palm Beach Free Press claim that they were unaware of the pricing error. Because Florida law requires that an individual have the specific criminal intent to commit theft, a genuine mistake at checkout without evidence of the customer's intent to underpay typically would not rise to the level of a crime, as simply receiving a benefit from the store's error is not by itself theft. However, once the store discovered the undercharge and demanded additional payment or return of the item, the situation became much more complicated. Florida contract law allows otherwise validly formed contracts, such as those for the sale of goods formed at the register of a retail establishment, to be quote-unquote rescinded or canceled in some situations where one party makes a mistake in establishing the terms of the contract. As the 3rd District Court of Appeal of Florida explained in the 2018 case of DePrince versus Starboard Cruise cruise services. Quote, a contract may be set aside on the basis of a unilateral mistake of material fact if the mistake was not the result of an inexcusable lack of due care, denial of release from the contract would be inequitable, and the other party to the contract has not so changed its position in reliance on the contract that rescission would be unconscionable. In the DePrince case, the court found that a contract for the sale of a 20-carat diamond for a fraction of its actual cost due to a pricing error could be rescinded for unilateral mistake, even absent any misrepresentation or inducement by the buyer. Accordingly, a court could conclude that the 1-cent pricing error was a unilateral mistake that allowed Home Depot to rescind the contract for sale. In theory, this means that a prosecutor could potentially argue that by refusing to return the item or pay the correct price, knowing that they were undercharged and the store had attempted to rescind the contract, the auditors intended to permanently deprive the store of the full retail value of the item. However, it is far more likely that this would be treated as a civil matter, as whether Home Depot had the right to rescind the contract based on unilateral mistake is a question of contract law. And because Acura Amanda and Palm Beach Free Press had lawfully purchased the item and therefore held the legal title, it is improbable that a court would find that they had the requisite criminal intent necessary to commit theft.
Is your body camera rolling? Do you have a supervisor available?
Yeah, my body camera's on right now.
Okay. Do you mind asking for a supervisor, please?
Sure.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Not a problem. 1986, this one. Hey, can you open up a 68 for me at the Home Depot? And I'm out with 2 requesting supervisor.
Hey guys, so we're on we're at the Home Depot on Palm Beach Lakes right now. We just paid for this pendant light over here. This is our receipt. The lady is saying that this did not scan properly. However, when I price checked this item, the other gentleman in the store told me how much it was. We came here, we scanned it. This is the price of the item, and we're being detained right now, guys.
Sure, it's Anthony Goin, dude.
Anthony?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's your guy's name?
Do you mind spelling your last name for me?
Yeah, Goindoo.
I'm Amanda. Acura Amanda.
Oh, hey, how are you?
Hey, good. Nice to meet you.
I'm so sorry that this is happening, you know.
Where?
So,
You'd see the issue though. I mean, we haven't stole anything, and if you're detaining us with the shopkeepers policy, that's kind of different. So
Acura Amanda questions the legality of Officer Goindoo's decision to detain her and Palm Beach Free Press based on the quote-unquote shopkeepers policy. Florida's so-called shopkeepers privilege is codified in Section 812.015 of the Florida statutes, which empowers merchants and certain other individuals, including police officers, to detain suspected shoplifters under specific circumstances. In the pertinent part, the statute provides that a law enforcement officer or merchant, now quoting, who has probable cause to believe that a retail theft has been committed by a person and that the property can be recovered by taking the offender into custody, may, for the purpose of attempting to effect such recovery or for prosecution, take the offender into custody and detain the offender in a reasonable manner for a reasonable length of time. However, unlike merchants, police officers may also detain citizens based on reasonable suspicion of criminal activity, as established by the Supreme Court in the now infamous case of Terry versus Ohio, and Section 901.151 of the Florida statutes, known as the Florida Stop and Frisk Law, which states that, quote, whenever any law enforcement officer of this state encounters any person under circumstances which reasonably indicate that such person has committed, is committing, or is about to commit a violation of the criminal laws of this state, the officer may temporarily detain such person for the purpose of ascertaining the identity of the person temporarily detained and the circumstances surrounding the person's presence abroad, which led the officer to believe that the person had committed, was committing, or was about to commit a criminal offense. Further, as the Supreme Court recognized in the 2000 case of Illinois versus Wardlow, an investigative detention may be constitutional even if an individual's actions could potentially be explained lawfully and innocently, and officers have the authority to detain individuals to resolve ambiguities. Similarly, in the 2018 case of District of Columbia versus Westby, the Supreme Court held that officers are not required to accept a suspect suspect's innocent explanation for suspicious facts at face value. As we discussed earlier in this episode, there may be circumstances where an item purchased at an excessively low price could be considered to be quote-unquote stolen under the Florida theft statute, such as through the altering of a price tag or transferring merchandise from one container to another. Accordingly, even with the auditor's innocent explanation for their conduct, a court could certainly find that Officer Goendu had the reasonable suspicion necessary to briefly detain them to determine if a theft had indeed taken place, as they possessed merchandise under circumstances where the store claimed it was not properly paid for.
Switching. It's just allegations being made by the... can I call you, Sarge? Copy. I'm gonna call my sergeant. He's wanting to know what's going on. Okay. Do you mind if I go grab my my phone?
Whatever you like.
Okay, I'll be right back.
We're not gonna go nowhere.
I appreciate you guys. I'm wondering where their staff is. This is kind of ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Detained over something I just paid for.
Every single item in the cart's paid for, and here we are.
The courts have ruled and established that we cannot be detained more than a certain amount of time. I believe it's 45 minutes.
Oh, absolutely,
this becomes an unlawful detainment.
Acura Amanda argues that courts have ruled that citizens cannot constitutionally be detained for longer than 45 minutes. However, while a 45-minute detention could certainly be found to be constitutionally unreasonable, the Supreme Court has repeatedly and explicitly declined to adopt a bright-line time limit for Terry stops. In the 1983 case of United States versus Place, the court concluded that a 90-minute detention was too long to be constitutionally reasonable under the specific circumstances of the case, but explicitly stated that, quote, "We decline to adopt any outside time limitation for a permissible Terry stop." Similarly, the court noted in the 1985 case of United States versus Sharp that, quote, "Obviously, if an investigative stop continues indefinitely, at some point it can no longer be justified as an investigative stop, but our cases impose no rigid time limitation on Terry stops." So rather than a bright line time limit, as the Supreme Court explained in the 1983 case of Florida versus Royer, quote, "The scope of the intrusion permitted will vary to some extent with the particular facts and circumstances of each case. This much, however, is clear. An investigative detention must be temporary and last no longer than is necessary to effectuate the purpose of the stop. The variability in detention times permitted by this flexible standard can be demonstrated by the 1985 case of United States versus Montoya de Hernandez, where the Supreme Court concluded that an investigative detention that lasted over 12 hours was reasonable under the circumstances. However, the facts of that case were exceptional, as the detainee was suspected of trafficking drugs on a flight by swallowing balloons filled with an illegal substance. The suspect eventually underwent a cavity search, and 88 drug-filled balloons were recovered. Accordingly, while in many situations a 45-minute detention may be considered quote-unquote unreasonable, it is important to understand that there is no strict time limitation on the duration of a Terry stop, and courts evaluate each detention individually based on the facts and circumstances surrounding the investigation.
No, I understand, and I'm not here to do anything unlawful.
No, you're cool, man. I don't have an issue with you.
Thank you.
You're a very nice gentleman, but...
No, I definitely...
we have our receipt. We paid for everything.
I definitely understand. This is a Home Depot issue, you know what I mean?
It seems like they don't care because they're not coming out here either.
Well, if they don't come out here, I'm going to be like, at this point, it's ridiculous, you know?
I mean, this is our receipt, so... Hold on, I'm trying to go live right now.
Detained when I'm trying to set my dishwasher. I can't go home and plug my dishwasher.
So
you can go look at my objects in my car.
I'm just trying to figure out, so they're saying that you guys got rung up for the wrong item, or...
Something was cheaper than what they wanted it to be.
Look at what our light ring up as. A penny. They are supposed to... That's how much it's supposed to be. They're supposed to pull it off of the shelf, and they don't do that. The store is a mess in there. When you purchase the item, it's yours. It's in your possession.
Yeah. Do you mind if I look at the item just to confirm the SKUs? And then if this is you're absolutely right, then
If you go,
why we're so
if
upset
you
over
take
this.
a picture of this with your phone, and you can ask them in there, hey, how much
It'll
does
actually
this?
show you
It'll
here.
show you how
So
much
if
it
you look at the
is.
SKU number, ending in 86 here, ending in 86 here. Every single item in the cart is bought and paid for.
Yeah,
Here
we
are
paid for
being
everything.
detained over a receipt that we paid for something.
that's crazy.
You're telling me? That's why I'd like to go home and plug my dishwasher in, but instead
Yeah.
we're dealing with the police at Home Depot in West Palm Beach, Florida.
No, absolutely. You know what? You guys are definitely good to go. If it rang up as a penny, I mean, they'll have to. That's
so
on them.
limited and why we're on camera right now. Unfortunately, you've been totally cool and civil. I appreciate that, but
No,
being
no,
detained
it's
over
not a
buying
problem.
items, I'm not cool with, man.
Yeah, no, I understand.
So are we free to go?
Yeah, you guys are good.
Goodbye.
I apologize. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, guys.
Have a good day.
Alrighty. You changed it to 66, cancel supervisor.
After Officer Goendu allowed Acura, Amanda, and Palm Beach Free Press to leave the store, they both shared their footage of the encounter on their respective YouTube channels. It is unknown if the auditors have filed complaints or intend to pursue legal action. Overall, Officer Goendu gets an A for maintaining a calm and professional demeanor during the encounter, remaining within the bounds of his authority, and for ultimately allowing the auditors to leave without escalating the situation. Despite operating in a legal gray area, Officer Goendu navigated a uniquely complicated scenario with measured restraint. The initial call alleging theft could reasonably raise suspicion under Florida's retail theft statute, especially considering the store's claim that the auditors refused to correct the undercharge. Given that the statute contemplates both pricing manipulation and intentional exploitation of pricing errors as potential theft, Officer Goendu had at least a minimal factual basis to detain the pair. That said, this was far from an open and shut case of shoplifting, and the legal nuances surrounding unilateral contract rescission and civil versus criminal remedies were likely beyond the scope of a typical officer's training. While Officer Goendu could have clarified the limits of the law more effectively, or dismissed the complaint as a civil issue outright, his choice to detain the auditors for a reasonable amount of time to sort out the situation falls well within his lawful authority. He remained composed, avoided making any threats or coercive statements, and he released the pair without incident or arrest. Though a more thorough understanding of the legal distinctions between a pricing mistake and criminal intent would have elevated his response, Officer Goendu's conduct represents a respectable balance of investigative caution and restraint given the situation at hand. I commend Officer Goendu for taking a measured, professional, and objective approach to this interaction, and for making the discretionary decision to release the auditors when the store failed to follow up. Acura, Amanda, and Palm Beach Free Press get an A-, because although they were somewhat misinformed regarding the legal duration of the detention, they remained calm and collected despite being accused of theft, asserted their rights without becoming vulgar or provocative, and allowed Officer Goendu to conduct his investigation without issue. From the moment Officer Goendu initiated the stop, the auditors pressed for answers in a civil manner, questioned the legal foundation for the detention, and emphasized the importance of constitutional protections in real time, all while continuing to film and document the event. Throughout the interaction, they demonstrated a relatively firm understanding of their rights and maintained composure in the face of an uncertain legal situation. They presented their objections with clarity and without hostility, while avoiding the kind of theatrics or provocations that often undermine the credibility of First Amendment auditors. Although their statement about a 45-minute constitutional time limit on detentions was not legally accurate, it reflected a broader and legitimate concern about overlong investigative stops, especially in cases as dubious as this one. Given the murky legal footing of the store's complaint and the questionable claim of criminal intent, Amanda's insistence on clarity and legal justification was both appropriate and well executed. The auditor's conduct in this interaction not only reinforced the utility of citizen oversight, but also showcased how a rights-conscious individual can engage with law enforcement without escalating tension. While they certainly could have sharpened their legal arguments and avoided a few overstated claims, their overall approach was respectful, rights-focused, and effective in calling attention to a questionable detention over a civil dispute. Let us know if there is an interaction or legal topic that you would like us to discuss in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out my second channel for even more police interaction content.